Hello, everyone. We're starting in a minute, so please take your seat. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Naima Charles. I am the Senior Director of the Center for Justice here at Glide. At the Center for Justice, thank you. Thank you. At the Center for Social Justice, we advocate to create political change and work with community to move forward the moral arc of justice. We are gathered here at a pivotal moment to honor the extraordinary power, resilience, and brilliance of the Black community, especially Black women, who have and continue to shape the course of history in profound ways. As we come together to celebrate Black History Month, we recognize that Black history is not just a chapter in the past, it is a living, breathing force that impacts the present and guides us into the future. So today, we are not only here to celebrate Black history, but also Black futures as well. The strength of the Black community is woven into the very fabric of this country, from the courageous leaders who've paved the way for civil rights to the trailblazers who are paving new paths for justice, equality, and progress today. And when we talk about power, we cannot overlook the undeniable influence of Black women. Time and time again, Black women have been at the forefront of change, rising not only in their communities, but in places of political power, advocacy, and leadership. From Shirley Chisholm's historic run for president, Angela Davis's unwavering commitment to justice, and the liberation to Stacey Abrams' tireless work in voter rights. Black women have proven time and time again that their voices and their leadership are transformational forces that drive change. Today, we are honored to be joined by and celebrate three incredible Black women leaders: Glide CEO, Dr. Gina Frommer, Congresswoman, yes, Congresswoman Lateefah Simon, and Controller, yes, and Controller Malia Cohen. These women are reshaping the political landscape and embodying the power of Black women in community and as an activist, leading with unwavering dedication to equity, justice, and progress. This event is not just a reflection on the challenges of the past, but a celebration of the immense potential of the future. One where Black voices continue to rise, where Black leadership continues to thrive, and where the fight for justice remains unstoppable. I hope today's conversation inspires us all to continue pushing for a future that honors and empowers and uplifts the Black community. Thank you again for being here. I would now like to welcome my fellow Glide colleague, Rashida Oji, to the stage to open us up with a song.
Hey, what's up? This is Queen Lili'uo Kalani, and as an ancestor, she wants to be here for us melanated folks who are transforming life. And through this song, she wants to be here. She was the last reigning monarch, so she handled her business for 3 years, and I had the pleasure of living on the Big Island. And her spirit came to me, and she said, "Okay, sing this song." So I'm gonna do it. Walking in this garden where a queen came by day, wading in the waters where a queen came to play. A love for this place seems to surge through me, and your dreams of what Hawaii could be, as a gentle rain moves down from Nu'uanu. I think of the rain they took from you. Raindrops fall softly in your garden. Is it you, Lily, crying? Sovereignty, our people call today. We choose our champions and we wish them on their way. From the state to Congress halls, is Hawaii heard at all? Down into the valleys of plenty come laws we don't want to understand, forcing people from their gardens. Are you listening, Liliuokalani? On the palace grounds, our people met today to speak of the appeal you made when they stole your rights away. Did you hear the voices joined in singing Hawaii, aloha, proudly ringing? Here I am before you in this garden. I feel you close to me. Oh, raindrops fall softly in your garden. Is it you, Liliuokalani, crying? Are you listening, Liliuokalani? Aloha, no. Aloha, no. Liliuokalani, aloha. Guide us. Take your sister's hands. Guide us. Ancestors, come and go before us with all you brought to us in these lifetimes. Ancestors, guide us. Aloha, no. Aloha, no. Fly before us.
Thank you, Rashida. So, when I think of Black women that are powerful and unapologetic, I often think of Glide's Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Gina Frommer. A sixth-generation San Franciscan, born and raised in the Bayview Hunters Point neighborhood, Dr. Frommer has spent over 4 decades uplifting the Black community and fighting for justice and systemic changes in our community. It is with great honor that I welcome Glide's fearless leader and moderator for tonight's panel to the stage. Welcome, Dr. Gina Frommer.
Ooh, Regina can sing. Let's give her another hand. I'm feeling it right now. Amen. Feel like I'm at church. Yes. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Today we are here to celebrate and appreciate Black history and Black futures in the making. Glide is so honored to host Congresswoman Lateefah Simon and State Controller Malia Cohen for this timely discussion. These women represent greatness all around, and I cannot wait for you to hear from them. When I look at them, I know the state in our wonderful country, actually, is being led by phenomenal Black women, making change we need in this world. I'm going to say this country because I think you got more to do up there in D.C. I did my PhD thesis on success of Black women. Let me tell you, when Black women succeed, we dedicate ourselves to uplifting our community. And the saying goes, we lift as we climb. The 2 public servants we have in the house tonight are a perfect example of that. They work tirelessly with vision and brilliance and tremendous hope to stand up for Californians. Their success is our success. Congresswoman Lateefah Simon is a familiar face here at Glide. It was about 2 years ago when she announced her run for office right here on this stage. We love you. She won her election victory during a time of backlash against our dearly held values of racial justice, diversity, and inclusion. The Congresswoman has been chosen as Deputy Whip for Policy. Now, this is unusual for a new incoming, but this is a testament to just how much she shines and how many people want to work with her. State Controller Malia Cohen is the Chief Fiscal Officer for California. Someone just said to me, her name is on my letter. I said, her name is on everybody's check and everybody's letter. Best believe that. I said, her name is on everybody's stuff. Oh my God. She protects the state's financial resources, audits government agencies, ensures our state government workers get paid, and so much more. We know her passion and priorities from her time here as supervisor, public health, economic development, affordable housing, and job creation. Controller Cohen has always been a Glide regular. And having her volunteer for Christmas and the backpack giveaway, she got a little girl too. Little mama wanted all the toys during that time. It's always good to have you at Glide. We are especially grateful to have the Congresswoman and the Controller here today because this is a time when many of us are in need of hope and inspiration. Some of that Glide love, right? That Glide love, hope, truth-telling, justice. Our diversity is a gift that makes us better together. This is not a time to shut down our diversity of voices like they're trying to do at the government, the United States government. Our celebration today reminds us that people from all backgrounds are achieving the American dream and that nothing is going to stop us, especially when it's Black genius in the room, right? Welcome, welcome, Lateefah and Malia. Come on up. Right, they're used to the Glide stage, so we just don't have Minister Marvin tonight. And Minister Marvin sends his love to everyone. The Glide Ensemble sends their love. They hope to see you this Sunday when Michael Tubbs is here speaking at the 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock celebrations. Where's our young person that's supposed to be moving that out the way? Can I get somebody? Kenneth, you want to help? Oh, here she comes. Here she comes. Thank you. Oh, she was getting your mics. Perfect. Sound check on the mics. Are the mics working?
One, two. Yeah, they sound great.
You good?
Am I on?
You on.
We are on.
Okay.
We are on.
All right. So questions for the Congresswoman and State Controller. The format is going to be, there are some questions directed at individuals and together. So I'll just kind of lay it out as we go. All right. Congresswoman Simon and Controller Cohen, you both have had extraordinary and honorable careers standing up for most vulnerable in our communities, and you were both born and raised in the Bay Area. Can you talk a little bit about your upbringing and how it shaped the way you look at and approach the world?
Want to go first, Controller?
Sure. First of all, Glide, you are very lucky to have this panel right here. Let me just be really honest with you, because you are in for such a treat, because we don't not only know each other just personally, professionally, but also personally.
We love each other.
We do.
Yes.
We have laughed, we have cried, we have prayed together, we have sang together, we have done so much together over the last 15, 20 years. So you're welcome, okay? Because this is like seriously going to be the outpouring of just like our heart, of like just things that we've seen, wisdom, knowledge, and then we're going to be speaking into the future for all of us. So I grew up here in San Francisco. My parents grew up here in San Francisco, and my grandparents came to San Francisco from the South through the Southern migration. My mother's family came from New Orleans, Louisiana, and my father's family came from Galveston, Texas. And so my grandparents were young 20-somethings when they came and settled. And like many of the African-American experience in San Francisco, some settled in Ingleside, some settled in Bayview, some settled in Fillmore, okay? My mother grew up in Lakeview. My father grew up on the west side in the Richmond, but ran the streets of the Fillmore, okay? I am the eldest of 5 girls. And so for me growing up, I've always been a central figure in my family of being a protector, being a natural organizer. Or if you talk to my younger sisters, they'll say I was just overall bossy. But it really depends on the perspective, because everybody needs somebody, right? So I've always been there, and so kind of growing up, I've always known that I wanted to be in public service ever since I was in the 3rd grade. We took a tour, my 3rd grade class took a tour of City Hall. You all, I know you know City Hall, the great building, it's majestic. I just wanted to work there. It wasn't until I was like in high school that I had an informational interview that I realized that I could actually do it. And so I really began to set my mind on being a supervisor, and then in 2010 was elected to be District 10 supervisor.
Yes.
So I grew up on the southeast of San Francisco. And I love it. I still live there. I'm raising my family there in the Bayview community. And my parents are doing well. They're like 2 exits down the freeway off Silver Avenue. I went to public schools. I went to public school. I went to Fisk University for undergrad, one of the nation's historic and oldest HBCUs, Nashville, Tennessee, and then I earned a master's degree from Carnegie Mellon University. So I start with all that because that is the culmination of everything that I am. My real training comes from my home training, right? My real training comes from my grandmothers that really put a lot of time and energy into myself and into my sisters, and now into my daughter and my other nieces and nephews. So I have always known I wanted to serve. I feel like I'm living my life's purpose. I was raised a Christian here in San Francisco. I was raised actually in the shadow of Glide, volunteering even in high school. Some of my earliest memories have been during Thanksgiving, volunteering in the kitchen. And, you know, when Reverend Williams was alive, he was so revered and so respected. He was such a huge authority. And I recall the first time I actually met him in person, aside from when I volunteered in high school. I didn't have any confidence. I didn't have any common sense. I was just like, hi. You know, I didn't have much to say. But then, fast forward in my 20s, you remember when Hurricane Katrina hit?
Yeah.
And we remember San Francisco received all those evacuees and survivors. Gavin Newsom was the mayor at the time. Ross Mercurini was the supervisor at the time. Hydra was running point in the mayor's office on education at the time. And I was in charge of the coordination of all the services, San Francisco's response. And so Glide was anchored in that. It was center because it was providing transportation, was providing meals. We had a one-stop shop where people could get vaccinated, where they can get mental health, where they can get enrolled in San Francisco Unified School District. I remember that moment because that's when I got to meet Reverend Cecil Williams one-on-one. And that was a really impactful, it was early in my life, it was early in my career, and I was just always in awe. So to be here on Glide, to be in 2025 on the stage, sharing with history makers, it's just absolutely incredible. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Amen.
Malia, my goodness. She's so good, right? You're just so darn Heavenly Father. Let me get myself together. I look up to you so much.
Yes.
I don't know why she's older than me. She should be.
I call her my big sister. I think maybe we're like 2-3 months apart, but our families actually have known each other for generations.
That's right.
Our families have, and every time we're together, I'm going to tell the story. Her father runs the Church of Our Savior. Am I saying it correctly?
Lutheran Church of Our Savior on Garfield, 1011. You're welcome to join us 10 o'clock on Sundays.
Oh, good.
And hallelujah, that was the church home of my beautiful, sweet grandmother, Betty
O.
Simon.
Simon.
And Malia's father eulogized the angel and saint Betty Simon. So we are connected by deep blood forever. That woman not only anchored my spiritual spirit, she's my paternal grandmother, but she is the reason why you ask why I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
You see the closeness of black women in the city. Your father helped send her off on her way.
See, that's what I meant when I said this is special.
Right?
Like there is real.
It's real. It's very real. So the beauty of Glide, and I'll actually tell the quick Glide story. I was born and raised in the Fillmore. My father's father came here in the 40s, opened up some nightclubs, married my beautiful grandmother. Louisiana and Tulsa, Oklahoma coming together. They both left the South, escaping Jim Crow, and founded right here in San Francisco, and nevertheless created community, collective community within the Bayview, within the Fillmore, within, again, Ocean Ingleside. And my mother, on her 18th birthday, got on a Greyhound bus, left the South, and she met my father selling Final Call newspapers on Ralston and Randolph. So here I am.
Lakeview.
My dad had a little bow tie. My parents got together. They took Shahada. My mother was raised a little Baptist girl from Arkansas, found Islam through my father. I was not a convert. I was actually raised in Islam, and with a grandmother who loved Jesus and went to a Jewish day school. I'm very San Francisco. I'm very Bay Area. Very Bay Area.
Yeah.
That said, so, my father, like the beautiful saints outside, struggled with addiction for a lot of his life, came from a wonderful family. 99% of the people that you see struggling with addiction come from wonderful families. Glide has always been an institution who called it out what it is. Addiction is an illness, not a pathology.
Mm-hmm.
And the healing can always happen. My father was a client of Glide. And one of the things that he said, he had so much pride growing up. My parents broke up very early on in life. I have an older sister. He didn't want to infringe on my grandmother's house during his addiction. He didn't want to infringe on my mother. When I got older, he didn't want to infringe on our space. I would always say, Daddy, just come live with me. I'm so happy that he found Glide when he did. He died clean and sober right at the Will
Amen.
Hotel.
Amen.
He died sitting up. And there's something about that. He died literally sitting up. He had congested heart failure, but through this institution, he was able to receive his dignity. His dignity. He had his own space, his own key. And it was through, watching my dad in his life, in really beautiful times. The smartest man that I've ever met. Man loved God more than anybody that I knew, and he always knew that he was valuable enough to receive redemption every day, particularly in his darkest days. He was a fantastic father. And while he didn't raise me, you hear me, amen, he raised me. That really led me to my early work. Both my parents struggled deeply. I'm so happy that there are labor leaders in this city. I think, what if my mother didn't have a union? She retired from the VA Medical Center making a little bit more than she made every month when she was working at the VA. We are San Francisco people, and it's because of the justice movement that I've been able to move in this space for 30 years. I started doing outreach here when harm reduction wasn't the lexicon of the city. In 1994, for a little organization called the Street Survival Project. Many of you all have heard the story, so I won't belabor you. I was in high school. Unlike Malia, I was not a good student. She was at Lowell High School. I was, in and out. I was at RAP. I was at Independent High School. I went back to Washington when I did better. Then I dropped back out. But I found an organization that saw other girls like me in our brilliance. I was in the juvenile justice system, got a job, paid me double the minimum wage to do healing work in this community. And I never looked back when I was doing street outreach. That was during the proliferation of HIV and AIDS. I became a test counselor. I was a phlebotomist. We were doing harm reduction needle exchange before it was legal. I learned and understood the grace of folks suffering, how no one wants to live in degradation, particularly the ones who are in their lowest moment. And why Glide has always been such a center of that spirit force. So through, again, watching my parents deeply struggle, watching the young women, when after a couple of years working at the Street Survival Project, I became the executive director of the organization that's now known as the Young Women's Freedom Center, whoop, whoop.
Yes.
And I helped to grow that space. But through the young people that I've met, and I'll stop here, even in the challenges that I faced as a young person, I actually saw my privilege, my deep privilege. I had a granny who always had food cooking, and there was always a space for me to go. My mother, despite her challenges, always worked. I could always get my father on the phone. I was never hungry. I saw addiction and death up front, and yet I still had a coven of women, peers, and leaders who had me. And I just want that for everybody.
Yes.
And that is just not too much to ask. So that brought me into the work, and I'm so happy that I get to share the stage with you all to talk about these journeys.
That's beautiful. Oh, my goodness.
We have stories about Gina before she was
Stories,
Dr. Gina.
yes.
Maybe we'll be able to tease some of those stories out when Gina used to run the streets of the Bayview.
That's right. No, I was running Bayview. All right, Congresswoman Simon, you proudly identify as a Black Muslim woman. Can you share with us how this positionality in a time when Muslim Americans and Black community are under attack, both at home and across the nation, shapes how you approach your work in community and at the federal level?
Ooh, I love that question. In Islam, there's a word, Bismillah, praise be to God, that I live. I'm kind of a bad Muslim, if you would say. We had a bad Muslims club at Mills College, the girls who like to drink wine after class. There is an Islamic diaspora. I want people to know that. There is room for everyone. God sees us as perfection. I love that you brought up faith. My grandmother, again, my grandmother went to church 9 days a week. Maybe 11 days a week. I know the depth and the beauty of the Torah, right? I know the depth and beauty of the New Testament and of the Quran and the Hadith. And my dad, before his untimely death, he made me promise to consistently lift up our faith, meaning peace and the love of God. And to be a Muslim, to me, is someone who deeply fears this force that is so big, that is so unannounced, but always present. The attacks on people of faith, particularly in this moment, Islamophobia, the hatred and the anti-Semitism, I will say I will chant down Babylon every single day that I have the opportunity to speak truth and justice and healing and love. this administration, and I know that we are in a C3 space, so this is for information only. I know evil when I see it. And it's not little baby amputees, right? What evil is to me is men who are leading regimes on all sides who don't see the sanctity of life right in its pure and rare form. So again, my job, even when my voice shakes, even in the Capitol where I've already been spit on, is to consistently hold center my daddy's voice.
Ashe.
My daddy's voice, the voices of my aunt Damira Ahmad, who was an amazing organizer here in the Black Panther Party and helped to lead the student revolt for ethnic studies. The hijabi sisters who walk down these streets here who have more resiliency in them than anyone who could ever hate them. So part of our collective faith, we are the children of David and of Gabriel, is to just speak the truth. It's to just speak the truth. There are 5 beautiful pillars of Islam, and in less than a week and a half, we will begin Ramadan. And just like folks who read and pray in the New Testament, and like folks who pray the Torah, we fast and we listen. And I'm really excited about Ramadan. You asked me about Islam because it's going to give me an opportunity, even in this very dark place, every day to renew this faith and to renew my commitment, right, to giving, right, to deep faith, to pilgrimage, and really to love.
Wow.
We're going to fight. We're going to fight.
Yes.
We're going to fight. You cannot, you know, evil cannot stand. With the Muslim van V2, it will not stand. These times, in this moment, they're very difficult. But I'm talking to folks every single day from community. And, you know, as we've said, hold on. You know, it is a 1952 America again, but we've known where we've been and we know which way we will come.
Yeah, my grandma used to say, this is just this moment, but tomorrow cometh, and joy cometh in the morning. She used to always say that to me. Controller Cohen, as a Black woman and California elected official, how are you approaching this current challenging time when Black communities and other marginalized communities are under attack?
Next question. No, just kidding.
We need some advice.
You need some advice. All right, I'm going to give you some real advice. First of all, great warriors, or anyone that's on the front line, will always, when they're reflective and they're really centered, take time to center themselves every day so that they can be grounded, connected to the source, be grounded, and be reminded who they are serving. And so for me, it is taking time every day in the morning between 5 and 5:30 a.m. and just being quiet, being prayerful, and meditative. And this week in particular was a really tough week when you talk about, like, what are we doing? How are we doing? Lateefah is in Congress. I am up in Sacramento. And it is like a new world. It's like these people that I work with, that I thought I knew, people that I served with that I thought I knew, it's almost become unrecognizable. Wow. When we talk about DEI, when we talk about, remember last year when we were doing all this lip service, remember when George Floyd was murdered and how money rushed into Black Lives Matter, corporate money rushed into special programs. Glide probably got a piece of the action.
Probably.
And now it's like a total shift. You're literally seeing people erasing words, erasing women from policy, erasing transition, the word transition, because of the obvious the implications to them being transitioning, transgender transitioning. You see policies being erased, diversity, equity, inclusion programs, but I think we need to be very clear and intentional about our language. They are targeting programs that uplift Black and brown bodies and people and the LGBTQ community. What I am seeing is that there are still programs that are uplifting rural communities, still are maintaining. I'm going to talk about it from a money perspective, okay? California is the 5th largest economy in the world. So that means you got United States, you've got China, you've got Japan, you have Germany. You've got these great nations that California falls behind. So that means that the 40 million people that live in the state of California, we are living in a very wealthy nation. And we are living in a very wealthy country and state. But what we are seeing are federal dollars being clawed back. There's a bank called iBank that supports minority-owned businesses, that supports veteran-owned businesses, LGBTQ-owned businesses. Hundreds of millions of dollars were clawed back from the federal government. Money, and the reason why this is a problem is because it destabilizes our entire state government. You see, we passed budget. This money is encumbered. We've already spent it. It's budgeted for, we've already spent it, and so for them to reach in and try to freeze it and then to take it back, that is unsettling. We know we see on the national front about Medicare, Medicaid, right? We know that they're trying to dismantle public schools, but what does that actually mean to you in this seat right here? It means that the life that you are accustomed to is going to be disrupted, and you probably have felt some level of disruption already. If you have federal employees that work in your family, there's about 150,000 federal employees that work in the state of California alone that are impacted. So we will start to see slowdowns in filing for taxes, filing for relief. You think about the Eaton fire and the Palisade fire, the amount of money it's going to take to help those communities get back up online it's going to be crippling for years. We are going to be paying the costs of the policy decisions that the Trump administration is making for decades. This is not something that it feels like a fly-by-night that they're coming in and they're erasing, they're seizing information, your data. There are no guardrails in place to protect you. That's what they're looking to eliminate, and it will have an impact on you, on your life, and you know. So the advice is brace yourself. This is a praying community, so we must stay prayed up. And we must, I think, also remind ourselves that we have seen this before.
Yes.
Now, some of us told you so, okay? Now, I realize I'm talking to Glide, so we're probably all in the same I'm preaching to the choir, but we told them what was going to happen, but they didn't believe us. And so now we're at this place where now what do? Well, we've been here. It's a very introspective moment. We got to go inside. We need to pray. I think we're going to really start to lean on community again. I was speaking to a journalist earlier today. I was thinking that we need to start to tap those old revolutionaries, the Sandinistas, right? We might need to go back and visit, dust off the Black Panther Party policies.
Right. That's right.
I'm serious, because those were the warriors that were equipped to be on the front line. And we've got a lot of people that have benefited, but don't have that muscle, that strength, that fortitude that is going to be needed to be tested, because you're going to be tested not only spiritually, physically, but also mentally and emotionally. When you see your friends and family members deported.
That's exactly right.
So that is the sad state of where we are.
It is. You know, we think about the word resilience and all this stuff. You know, sometimes we think about Black people have been through so much, and you know, this is about Black History Month and the struggles and our futures. And I know for a fact that we have survived worse, but I don't want to go back to worse. We shouldn't have to hit rock bottom once again to get back up to the top again, right? And so, you know, whether it's you or your neighbor, it's a shame that we have to go through this. But, you know, I do believe that California is resilient, our people are resilient, and we're going to look out for each other. And this is a call for philanthropy to step up. You know, we got billionaires running the city, state, and the federal government now. Okay, so where's philanthropy during this time? They're going to be stepping up more so, because I don't think they know the damage that's going to happen because of this.
I think they do know the damage, and I think that you know, you've probably heard the expression, there is opportunity in chaos.
Yeah. Correct.
So, you know, what happened is that you see Elon Musk coming in, breaking government, coming in, dismantling dismantling it, creating chaos so that there is opportunity for a new system to emerge.
Exactly right.
There is the same way he created chaos in Twitter keep in mind the mentality that the tech community has is disruption. And so we need to be mindful of this play. I think certainly in San Francisco, we've seen this play before when we saw Twitter, what happened, how it imploded. Remember, he locked out employees. He sold the building. There was a lot of things that have changed, and Twitter is not what it once was. X.
Masters of chaos.
Yeah.
Congresswoman Simon, early on in your career, you had an opportunity to work for former Vice President Kamala Harris when she was the DA of San Francisco on, the Criminal Justice Reform Back on Track program. I remember that because I was at the Bayview Y at the time, which gave folks the opportunity to get a diploma, a job, and services rather than incarceration. Controller Cohen, as a San Francisco supervisor, you championed fair chance ordinance or ban the box legislation to give people with conviction histories a fair chance at housing and employment. How do we see the state of public safety and criminal justice reform now, working in partnership to make sure young Black and brown people are given every opportunity available to them to turn things around? That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. First, I want to say anyone that is in the proximity of Kamala Harris works for Kamala Harris. Okay?
Forever. Forever.
Whether you on the payroll
Forever.
or not.
Forever.
Gina, you know you worked for her.
I know.
We all worked for her. There's a couple workers out there too.
That's right.
But why don't you tell us some tales from the trail?
Well, so a little bit picking up of what you were saying, Controller Cohen. I'm sitting here, kind of digesting your answer and your question. It is terrifying what is happening at the executive level in this country. I just want you to, we could just sit and just honor that. Never before, and this nation has a very dark history, which what we thought was going to be a bright future. But even the framers in the nation's core literature, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution in Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution, it makes clear how this thing is supposed to run. For the first time, actually it's not the first time, in the Nixon administration, that fool tried to stop federal funding from moving to programs and initiatives that he did not like, after Congress had already made the decision to move those resources. The federal courts, the bench said, absolutely not. We haven't seen, and that was there's 90 executive orders, I feel like I'm making that up, that have gone out in the last 3 weeks. We haven't seen this kind of foolery at the executive level in our nation's, and I just want to say, very young history. We are now looking for precedent at times because we are in unprecedented times. So folks are frustrated at every level of government, including the Republicans. They are just sheep, and so they're not really speaking out loud. I'll tell you what we are doing as I talk about Kamala Harris and what I learned from her. When I was working for her, she would always say, watch leadership. I am watching leadership as I'm beginning my tenure in the United States Congress. Working for Kamala, it wasn't something that I initially wanted to do. I was running the Young Women's Freedom Center, and all of our work was about healing and about justice and about circles and about radical feminism and womanism. And the core book we read to young women when they came in as members was Sisters of the Yam. It was that thing. And when D.A. Harris won her race, she asked me to consider working for her, and I was like, there's never going to be a day where I work for the man. Like, I am a revolutionary, and this is what I do. You remember, one of the things that she said was, Lateefah, and I won't go on for longer, but she said, you've been working inside prisons and in juvenile halls, and you're constantly, at 375 Woodside, banging on doors, demanding that folks get these young people out to come to your center because you know that you can do what probation can't do, is get folks in a space where they actually want to live again. Do you really want to spend the rest of your career outside of my office with a bullhorn, or do you want to come on the other side and actually create some programming with me? And I said, will I be able to get people out of custody? She said, yes. We'll be able to get folks jobs. Yes. Will we be able to get these young men health insurance? Yes. Will we be able to get their teeth fixed? Yes. I said,
Amen.
yes. You all be. I mean, I just talked about one of the clear things we know for folks who are working on the ground. We know that folks don't like to hustle for a living. Like, folks don't love making life and death choices to get an SRO hotel. We know that, and I knew that about the young men and the young women that I had been working with on the ground. And so coming into, she was 38 years old at the time, elected district attorney, and I had spent the 10 years prior organizing against the elected district attorney to do the right thing. I said, here's an opportunity to actually grow up a bit, and to stop asking folks to do the right thing and actually become someone who's behind the desk, who's helping design what a future could look like. One thing I learned about Kamala Harris was no one gave her anything. I don't care if you don't agree with her politics. I remember her first day on the job, coming in there, not mine, hers. I was there for the inauguration. After her inauguration, she walked in. Her predecessor took every piece of furniture out of the front office. She had to sit in like an old school desk. She didn't have a computer. The computers didn't talk to each other. She had to hire a staff. Her chief of staff is a gay man who had lost his partner to police violence. She hired Black women like myself at that time with no college degree to lead her program initiatives. And I remember every single day, once I started, walking through those halls and seeing her white male, not even her counterparts, her senior attorneys, snicker at us, her hires, make jokes about her initiatives. So literally, that's the Hug-a-Thug program. I remember how much she wanted to reform a broken system. Why I will defend Black women running for office for the rest of my life, because I know what we face. I know even in the institutions that we seek to lead, how very few people want us there. Shirley Chisholm was so clear. You gotta bring up the Fosing table. They will never put a chair there for you to sit down. No one gave you a damn thing. You went throughout the state and all of those counties with that baby girl to become one of the state's first Black constitutional elected officers. So you talk about, this Black excellence thing. It's not given. It is a duty. It is a duty. So when we talk about healing, Ella Baker said, and I'm going to throw the mic to you. Remember, Ella Baker said, until the killing of Black mother's sons is as important as the killing of white mother's sons, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. What I would purport is, until the healing of Black mother's sons is as important as the healing of white mother's sons, we who believe in freedom, we absolutely will not rest. So the criminal justice system, until it does its job in healing and reforming and creating opportunities for folks to shift, we still don't have treatment and demand in San Francisco. We don't have it. So you can't create more more accountability without more opportunity.
That's right.
That will always be my story and my politics.
Amen. Controller Cohen, what advice can you share with San Francisco's newly elected members? What resources do you feel they're still lacking and the city should be pushing for?
Come on, Ms. Cohen.
I think that the Department of Police accountability needs to remain
I know that's
intact
right,
and
yes.
fully funded.
Paul
I think
Henderson
that
is
it is
amazing.
short-sighted to pull off Commissioner Max Overstone. I think that pretextual stops by law enforcement officers indiscriminately is harmful. And I think that we need to make sure, my job as a controller is to make sure that there are guardrails in place to make sure that money is spent in the appropriate place. So sticking with that theme, that there are guardrails that are put in place to make sure that there are not abuses that are happening. Now, I want to shift the conversation a little bit about from the revolutionary fight that is in the street and maybe take it to another place. And I want people to understand the importance of financial freedom. Financial freedom. Because that is a true indicator. That is what's at play when we're watching the dismantlement of these policies and in these departments. We're talking, they're doing it in an effort to save money. Save money for whom, save money for where. Like, that is still yet to be determined, but it should be revealed. But in this time, I want you all to get your personal finances in order. I want you to find a free financial literacy class for your children. You can Google it, or you can contact me. I can put you in touch with a few providers out there. Because this is a moment that I think that we need to do some self-assessment and understand that we can't be relying and waiting on other people to help us, that we do need to help ourselves. That each and every one of us in this place should have an LLC. Each and every one of us should have some form of insurance on a loved one, if not on for ourselves. Now, you may be thinking, I cannot afford this. And I'm going to tell you, you cannot afford not to. We have to find a way to continue to be smart about how we're spending our time and our resources. Financial literacy is now a requirement for every public school kid in the state of California.
Yay.
In order for them to graduate, they must take a certain number of hours, and I believe that that is going to be a game changer. Because so people can be able to mind their business, so you can think in a business mindset, and you are able to have that to harness and embrace an entrepreneurial spirit or develop an entrepreneurial spirit. We should not be thinking in the limited mindset of just being consumers and consuming things from the government, consuming things from the corner store, and just consuming. Because a lot of these things also that we are consuming are poisoning our mind, our spirit, our body. And so we need to, and I'm including myself in all this. I'm a work in progress too. Yeah.
As am I.
I'm a work in, I'm not excluding this, but what we being able to start to put our financial house in order. Do you have a savings account? Can you put aside $5 a week, maybe $5 a month? Now, this may be hard for people. I don't know where you are in your individual walk, but let's also be mindful that we worship an awesome God. And if you don't ask, you don't receive. And so when in the midst of our praying for healing and tolerance, we're also going to ask that our lot be increased tenfold. And that is okay, because this is the spirit of community right here with us. Because if I get, I give. That's the spirit that binds us all together. So when you're thinking about your own financial health, think about the overall community. How can you give and tithe to Glide, to your family members? I know I got family members. I know you do too.
Yes, ma'am.
About financial health and financial literacy. Yeah.
That's why my young son, he said, why don't they teach this in school, Mom?
It's a great question. Why don't they? Well, they are about to start teaching
that.
this. It's going to be, like I said, in public school, requirement. Private school is a different matter.
I know my mama had 19 credit cards, and I wanted to grow up and be just like her.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah. But now we know better.
Exactly. Congresswoman Simon, can you describe what being a member of the Congressional Black Caucus means to you? How do you show up for yourself, your community, and your constituents to make sure that yours and their voices are heard at levels of government?
I love that. The Congressional Black Caucus it's a beautiful space. It's talked about as the moral courage of the Congress. It's the moral center, of the Congress. Representative Clyburn, who, a lot of people say they marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. Representative Clyburn marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. He really did. He was a deep confidant, and I'm so lucky to still have him in the Congress. He said, we meet every week, and there's almost 70 of us. It's the largest number of African Americans. I want to be clear. There's only been about less than 200 Black folks who have been sworn into the United States Congress since the country's inception. There have been 11,000 members of Congress since the country's inception. This pin, when I wear it every day, especially when things get really hard, and imagine it being in a room just a little teeny bit bigger than this. The congressional floor is not huge. It almost, when I first walked into the first day, almost looked like a Disneyland replica. I'm like, this is it? This is what I'm watching on? And it takes your breath away. And 30 feet to my right, each day are members who don't see any of us as human. The right is really the right. They are almost homogenous and monolithic in their politics and their views of black and brown and queer folks and folks who have come here escaping degradation. It's just such a lack of respect and human dignity for the good people, the salt of this country. So having opportunities to sit with heroes every week and be able to call up Mr. Clyburn. You know, one of the things that he said last week, which has grounded me in all serious. You all know I like to laugh, and I'm very, very goofy. I like joy. But he said, you know, even when he and members of SNCC decided to launch the No Bail campaign in the midst of the civil rights movement, where they said, you know, we're going to go to jail and we're going to actually say we don't want bail. We don't want the West to come bail us out. We want to sit. We want the American public and the world to see college students sitting behind bars because we want a part of this democracy. We want to sit. We will rot. He said, you know, we still had, even in an apartheid USA, we still had a faith that the Supreme Court would see us and hear our humanity. He sat in the room last week in the caucus and said, we were not scared. We had the faith of God and the faith of the democracy, you know, in our breath. He said, today I am scared. Wow. I am scared. I am scared. And so it took the breath out of the room from the young junior members of Congress to, you know, Hakeem and others who had, you know, served many terms. We have to look to the elders and not be ahistorical, because while this moment seems insane, there are folks who gave their very bones, their very ancestry, their lives, so that we could be equipped to fight now with new tools, new weapons of peace. I still believe in the federal bench. I don't know about that Supreme Court, but every day we have the power to fight back. And listening and understanding to people who, you know, here's where you are older than me. You were in elected politics right before me, having mentors. I want to make her older so bad, who not just in the CBC, but leaders in our communities who have, you told me, don't go on Twitter. Do not read the comments. Stay prayed up. The first couple of weeks in Congress, I talked to Malia about how hard it was, people threatening my life. And I think you said something that only Malia Cohen would. You got into politics, water is wet. This is what it's going to be. It was like, I think you said, like, it's raining, you go outside, you're going to get wet. Of course, folks are going to want to tear you down. Remember why you're serving. Thank you for that. So the Congressional Black Caucus is an amazing institution. But again, for so many of us, and I bring it back to GLIDE, GLIDE provides the same kind of spiritual calm for me, that we're going to be all right eventually. So I'm so happy to serve in the caucus. I'm also the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is also I'm the only freshman to be in leadership for the Progressive Caucus. No matter what, we cannot ever give up our values. Progressivism is not a bad word. If you would ask King today, should I go back and saying that I'm a progressive because it's not the right thing, he would say absolutely not. Go forward in your dignity and what we have fought for, that we are men, we are women, we are siblings, we are trans folks, we are children, we are elders, and this here community belongs to us. And progress means continuing to tell the story.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. That's deep. Y'all letting out a lot of energy right now, and it's beautiful. It really is. I'm empowered. You guys empowered? You know, I think about the work that GLIDE does and the work that you're doing. It's hard. Where's the hope, Comptroller Cohen? Where's the hope in California?
The hope really is in our children. I think, really. Lateefah's a brand new grandmother.
Yeah, here she goes. Trying to make me older. I am a grandma.
She is a grandmother. I'm a mother. But one day I'll be a grandmother.
Yes.
Um, that is what gets you up in the morning because the young children, I mean, they're not watching the news. They have no idea. Although my daughter does know that we supported Kamala Harris.
That's right.
She definitely knows that much. But the hope is in the future. So educating them, providing for them, protecting them. And that might mean, in my house, it means that I'm not always listening to the news.
Right.
I'm very conscious about what I'm doing in the space that I'm in. But it also means that my work is taking me outside of the house. So speaking on stages like this, I'm speaking to family. But I want to remind everyone, 80 million people voted for Donald Trump.
Yes.
He got the Electoral College vote and the popular vote. So that means these policies were received, are receptive, and there are people that are cheering him on. That means that even in our great city of San Francisco, it turned a little red.
Yes, it did.
And you're starting to see some of these policies creep in on a local level. I didn't really answer the question about what would I say to the Board of Supervisors by
you didn't.
design. But to answer that question, I would need the Board of Supervisors to find a spine and get ready to prepare for battle
Right.
and stop going along to get along, because real change comes in difficult times.
That's right.
And in difficult conversations. And you can have a difficult conversation without being difficult. So I'll be happy when the honeymoon ends and we can get to work.
That's right.
But the future really is in the souls that are here with us today, that are going to be marching, that are going to be on the front line, that are going to be writing editorials, that are going to be speaking truth to power, that are going to be holding on to their children, celebrating Black History Month, celebrating Women's History Month, celebrating API, celebrating the LGBT queer community, celebrating life and humanity, and not running away from it, not being afraid of it. And so these celebrations can be quiet or they can be loud and boisterous. But there needs to be an understanding that there is humanity in each and every one, in every situation, whether you're homeless or you're in the White House, and that every life has a value. That is what we are instilling and moving forward into the future.
And that's hope.
Yes.
You want to give us a little hope?
Yeah. Why don't you close us out?
I mean, she just kind of started rapping. I mean, that was a flow. Those were bars. I mean, you know, when you see Malia with her beautiful daughter, who, you know, Mackenzie is always just like smiling, right? Like I do not want to get it. That child is such light. And you're able to give her, like so many of our parents are, even in the Tenderloin. You know, when I see children with their big old backpacks and they're walking down Eddy Street and there's so much suffering and they're skipping to school. Right? I keep quoting Ella Baker these days because I just keep reading her. She's so profound. She said, young people come first. They have the courage where we fail. That these young people are in the darkness but see really only light and skip to school and know that they'll be fed there. And that there is an institution to greet them with their underpaid teachers who open up their arms and love them. There's 150 languages spoken right here in the Bay Area, 70 in the Tenderloin.
That's right.
And we have created a table for our people. While not perfect, these babies believe they belong here. They belong here. Their parents are waiting literally years to get asylum appointments. These children, they have made a home here. I actually feel so much hope in that. I feel like, you know, again, I was a teen mom. My daughter is 28, Malia's age. And, I was in the Banneker's, and when my water broke, I was living with my mother. Banneker's is low-income housing here in the Fillmore. We didn't have a car. We took a cab to Kaiser, and my mama was saying, don't tell them your water broke because they're not going to want to take us. And I was like, this is not really how I want to live my life. I remember being in the car, and I was just like, this is hard. And I have to come back home to, folks really struggling, getting high out of my window with this newborn baby, and I'm carrying this baby by myself. What am I going to do? It's not just about giving our children privilege. It's about giving our children a pathway to be healers themselves. I have a lot of faith in
Gen Z. I have a lot of faith in this technological revolution. I have a lot of faith in sectors that I never looked to before. I believe that we will find a cure for sickle cell, that folks will no longer die of HIV because of the brilliance in these labs. I have like a huge hope that healthcare will be affordable one day, that these children who are learning in our schools, who will do everything different than we've done. They will lay new paths. I have a lot of hope that our elders now that are in their last years of their lives, they will find dignity because we do the right thing. That those folks who elected us, particularly Black women, we will always vote and work in our conscience. We will chant down Babylon. We will call a lie a lie. We will pray the devil back to hell every single time.
All right, we got one more question. And Malia, someone wanted to know, why is an LLC important for an average person?
Oh, well, okay, so an LLC is just a structure. So a legal structure to protect yourself, to protect your assets, to protect your intellectual knowledge, and also you're able to, you move differently. Remember, we are living in a country where, corporations are people.
Yes.
Okay? Remember that legislation? Corporations are people. Get incorporated. An LLC is just a legal structure where you can still move, nothing changes. There are tax write-offs, there are tax incentives, there are business, depending on how successful your LLC is, you'll be taxed at a different bracket. I'm just challenging people to start to think about things through a business lens, okay? Maybe it's not an LLC, maybe it's an S Corp or a C Corp. It doesn't have to be. I'm just saying that you need another structure. We need to meet fire with fire. And also, I want to end on a story about Lateefah. When I really actually first met her, I think I was about 15 or 16 years old, and her grandmother was hosting a Women's Day discussion, celebration. It really was, we're getting together, we're eating like church people do. And we had a speaker, and she said, "Oh, I have a wonderful speaker. I'm going to invite my granddaughter." And, her name was Lateefah Simon. She turned to me, she's like, "Have you ever heard of her?" I was like, "No." No, I've never heard of her. But she came in, and when Lateefah was talking about the future, Amina was about 3 or 4 years old at that time. She was a toddler. My daughter's 4. And she came in, she sat quietly and colored. And I remember Lateefah had a little notebook. And she just had notes, like talking points that she spoke of. And it was fantastic. I don't remember what it was about, but I remember the impact, the emotional impact. That's what people remember, right? When they interact with you, how did you make them feel? Her grandmother was beaming. And now I know I'm talking to church folks. Everybody has church aunties and church grandmas, right? Betty Simon was my church grandma. And she had a running buddy named Dolores Baugh. And if anybody grew up in Lakeview, they were all part of the Ingleside Mothers Club, which were friends with my grandmother. So to see Betty brought her granddaughter, and this was the first interaction that we had. I don't even think we even spoke other than exchanging pleasantries. But to see Amina at that age, to know that she grew up, to know about your challenges, to know she grew up raised by a single mother, and now has graduated from law school, has took the bar, married, and bought a house.
I'm renting. Okay.
Bought a house. And before Lateefah took that oath in Washington, D.C., her first grandchild was born. So when we're talking about the future, that's what I'm talking about. And I know we talk about it in like a distant future, but it's really not that distant. I mean, the folks that are in high school now are watching and paying attention. Something good is going to come out of this very uncomfortable situation. We are not going to be forsaken. We are not going to be left behind. There is something that is going to be, there's a shift happening, and it is difficult for us to see in our eyes, but we need to start to think about things through maybe our supernatural eyes and realizing whom we serve and what we're actually doing. What? Okay. That's the devil working up to a All I'm going to say is that we shall definitely overcome. And then when we're talking about that future, let's not forget from where we come from. We all have a past that have brought us through trials and tribulations, whether you're Jewish, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, or don't even practice. You believe in love and light and energy. All of that is positive. All of that is accumulating. All of that is going to transcend this human experience that we're having. And the young people are watching. They are going to be the one that is going to save this nation.
Yes.
Come on, Ms. Cohen.
Yes. I have one question from the audience.
Okay.
And this is for both of you. What actions what do you think the Democratic Party, I don't like the word loss, but what is the Democratic Party doing to regroup and reorganize and reinvigorate and revamp to get this country back?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. Two things. Every day, I'll tell you what I'm doing and what they're doing. Every day, well, there's three things. Telling the absolute truth. So educating folks. I've been in district all week. Congress is in recess, so I've been able to be back in the Bay, being every day, all day, 15 hours a day, in community, in living rooms, at schools, with members of law enforcement, our organizers who are trying to create a new opportunity, with doctors, with lawyers. We are in the mud telling the truth about what is at stake, and this is not the time to have apathy. We've been telling people, not only calling your congressional members who you like, get on the phone and call these Republicans, flood their offices. We've received like hundreds of calls a day in my local office and in our DC office, and I actually love it. It keeps me wanting to speak out in very, very, very difficult situations. I went in front of the Department of Education. I don't know if some of you all saw that on CNN and Fox News. And we tried to go in and demand answers. The President of the United States called in Homeland Security to members of Congress. They denied us entry. Every single day, we have been physically outside acting with folks in community who are coming from around the country, gathering in the thousands. The threat to shut down USAID, your representative was out there full throttle demanding answers. So we have action and organizing and working with our national coalitions to be on the ground at home in DC. But also, to me, as a new member of Congress 7 weeks in, I still do trust the opportunity to prevail. So working with organizations like the American Civil Liberties Union and PFLAG, and Berkeley just filed an amazing suit. Democracy Forward has filed over 56 cases working in the ways that we can. I just want to be clear. We lost the House. We lost the Senate. We lost the executive branch. We do not have the judiciary. We don't have power over the government, but we have people power. There are ways that I will not vote for a budget that degrades our people. So during the reconciliation, the budget process, I will not extend my vote to Republicans who want to continue to problematize and pathologize trans children. I won't do it. So we have our vote. I can also, every single day, call on members of the United States Senate and tell them on the Democratic side, get it together and be a voice. The Democratic Party as a whole does have a strategy. What we, have been asked to do is not to resort to acting on every single crazy thing that comes out of this man's mouth. What they want us to do is to be in literal chaos. I gotta say, it's working, unfortunately. We will mantle, and we are, community by community, a litigation strategy and a movement strategy that leaves the Republicans, I believe, on March 14th when we have to vote for the reconciliation budget package. We will leave them impotent. They need us. If 3 of those folks don't come to work on the congressional side, they don't pass a bill. The margin is that slim. One of the things that I can tell you, the only thing that I can promise from where I am, I don't know about the OGs in the Democratic Party, but I'm going to fight like hell. I'm going to be proximate. We're going to use our office and all the power of our office to not only just be talking about it, but really being about it. I work for you, and I guarantee you I'm going to do the right thing every single day.
You good. Yes. Let's give him a hand, y'all. We are glad, and everybody is welcome in this house. No matter who you are, Where you from? Cecil made it real clear. We're radically inclusive. And that means action and that means fight. And so let's stand up and give these two wonderful women a round of applause.
Thank you, Dina.
Yes. Oh my God.
This was good.
I feel a little bit more hope, y'all. Y'all feel a little bit more hope? Yes, 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 yes. I want to bring Miss Regina back up for a song. The song is out. You know, we're all about music and song in this church, in this house of celebration. Yes, please sit, please.
We're sitting for singing.
No, you singing.
Important. Yes, thank you. I have to remember, I'm an elder in training. Will you come to your feet, if you will, if you're able? So we'll do a little bit of "We Shall Overcome" because that you just prompted so many songs. I feel so blessed by your words, by your sharing. Gina, come on up here now. Don't be like that. Okay. So we're gonna do a little bit of "We Shall Overcome," and then we'll segue into "Lift Every Voice" and sing. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Get closer, cross the aisle. We shall overcome. Today. Today. Deep in my heart. Deep in oh, sing it like you believe it. I do believe. Feel it down in your feet too. We shall overcome someday. Today. That's right. Okay, so we're going to pause that sway for a moment. Reach down in your feet. That way that you talked about starting the day, that's so key. And then also envisioning. We do a lot of saying what's going on that isn't what we want. So let's do a lot of that envisioning while we sing, while we hum. Find your bones with the tone of your own humming. That's what the elders did. That's what the ancestors did before us. Find your bones and then connect them with the wealth that's in this planet right here that we're rocking. Okay? Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Ooh, this is deep. Oh, what we're gonna do. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won, is won. I say, thank you all. Thank you. God bless you. Amen. All righty.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And thank you all so much for coming out tonight. The physical presence is key. So
Naima,
thank
wanna
you,
come
thank
close
you.
us out? Let's give Naima a hand. Her department
Naima.
organized this.
This is Naima Charles, the Senior Director of the Center for Social Justice.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. We do events like this often. We have an event coming up also in 2 weeks with the amazing Dolores Herta, so please come out for that again, and have a great night. Thank you.